Hey friend, welcome to the show today, and I'm so glad that you're here. And before we even start with our amazing guest, we're going to be talking all about teaching our tweens and teens life skills through cooking and beyond. And it's so awesome. Katie Kimball is our guest. But just first, I just want to thank you for being here, for being a listener. Maybe you just discovered this podcast. I love hearing from so many of you that you email me, that you talk about what a difference this podcast has made to you. And I also want you to know that there's even more support here. And you may know, you may even be in our Inner Circle membership. It's a little bit more of an expensive membership. There's a lot available in that membership, and I won't go into a lot of details. You can check it out on the website. If you're interested, there's weekly coaching calls, there's a parenting success roadmap, there's tons of support. We do challenges all the time. But I was hearing from so many of you that it was not in your budget, that really you didn't even feel like you had enough time to fully participate. And so because of that, because I so much want to support you, I did start an $8 a month membership, which actually right now there is a 14-day free trial. And in there, I do a live workshop every month. I personally engage with you. You can post in the community questions and struggles you're having. It's a very safe place. It's off of social media. We use the Mighty Network app. We do challenges in there. Also, there's a whole archive of all of my past teachings and workshops and resources to better connect with your tweens and teens. And all of the topics are disrespect, ADHD, how to help your kids be responsible, how to set boundaries, how to set limits. Just so much is available to you there. So I want you to know that that is here for you, and that right now you can sign up for that 14-day free trial. Go to momsoftweensandteens.com. You'll see they are right on our front page, all about the memberships, and you can scroll down and you can join, and it will not charge you until your 14 days are up, and it will also tell you when it's coming up that you can cancel if you so want to, however I want to say that. But the cool thing is that most moms find it so helpful, they don't want to wait. So I hope that I get to connect with you on a deeper level. Email me if you have any questions at Cheryl with an S at momsoftweensandteens.com. But let's move on to our podcast now, because I can't wait for you to hear what Katie Kimball has to share with us. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the show today. And I have a few questions for you. Do you struggle with what your kids eat and want them to eat healthier, but don't really know how to make that happen? Or do you feel like your kids are learning the necessary life skills they need as they move towards adulthood? So hard. Do you even know where to begin or how to find the time to cook, teach them to cook, teach those life skills they need in the midst of everybody's busy schedule? Well, if you're like most of us, you find this really challenging. And this is why I'm so excited for our special guest today, Katie Kimball. And Katie helps change kids' relationship to food, both through work in the kitchen and helping parents of picky eaters. She's a former teacher, two-time TEDx speaker, writer, and mom of 4 kids. She created the Kids Cook Real Food e-course, which was recommended by the Wall Street Journal as the best online cooking class for kids. Her blog, Kitchen Stewardship, helps families stay healthy without going crazy. And she's on a mission to connect families around healthy food, teach every child how to cook, and instill those all-important life skills. So welcome, Katie. And I have never had anybody on the show to talk about how to help our kids cook and get them involved in teaching them those important life skills. So I'm really looking forward to talking to you.
Yay, me too. I like being like the unique, original, weird one. So it's kind of fun to be lonely in this space a little bit, except that we need more voices saying these things. So
Absolutely. So I want to hear a little bit about your story. Like, how did you like to cook growing up? How did you start doing this, get in this space of, yeah, helping us with cooking with our kids?
I did not do a lot of cooking growing up, to be honest. I thought it was really, really cool. I can still picture, this is so weird, but I can picture driving the first time I got to go grocery shopping myself, like the first apartment I subleased halfway through college. And I thought it was like the coolest thing. Like, I'm a real adult. I'm going grocery shopping. Apparently, my life was very boring. I don't know. Like, that should not have been exciting, but I was like, I'm gonna crush this. I'm going to save so much money. Like I just felt like it was this awesome adventure being an adult, I guess. But I did a lot of calling my mom. Like, what were you doing when you put the chicken in the slow cooker? Like, what was that? And just asking her what she did. My mom, I always call her a hybrid cook because she would cook a lot from scratch, but she'd also use some processed ingredients. So it was weird when I started writing my blog. She would like read my blog and she learned, she like cut her first bell pepper after reading a recipe that I wrote and, never used fresh garlic. Like my mom had not used fresh garlic and she learned sourdough and homemade yogurt and all sorts of crazy stuff, like backward direction. Instead of her teaching me, I was teaching her through my blog because I just got really passionate about feeding my family healthy. I think for me, getting pregnant was a massive, I don't know, it's just bigger than a challenge. I thought this is so important. Like every bite that this tiny 8-pound person is eating counts so much because they're so tiny. And so I threw myself into research and learning and made all the mistakes. I had a lot of time to think at the cutting board as I was very slow at everything. I burnt everything. I was really quite terrible starting out. And I just kept thinking, like I'm a teacher by vocation for sure. I've always had the ability to look at a situation and understand how other people are understanding it and help them understand it better. Like that's just the heart of a teacher, right? So I'm screwing everything up in the kitchen thinking, I bet I could help other moms like have a faster path to answer and fewer screw ups. So that's where my online life came about is like I think I can help people do better than I did at figuring out what's healthy and how to cook for our families. So that's where I started online and then just kept hearing the same story from moms as Katie, I want to get healthy, but I was never taught to cook. And this is really extra hard. It's a huge mountain to climb. And the more I thought about it, and the more I was kind of teaching my kids some cooking, but then I would get busy and overwhelmed. You add another kid to the mix and you're like, whoa, this is like, I can't do it with three. Like, I don't know what to do now. So even I was like bouncing in and out of teaching my kids to cook. And I really started processing the fact that if our generation, we're not very good cooks, our parents never taught us, we're struggling. We're certainly not going to pass it on to the next generation magically, something that we're not comfortable with. So I thought somebody's got to step into that gap, or else 20 years from now, all of our kids will be saying, oh my gosh, like I was never taught to cook. Now I don't know how to be healthy. And so I just thought, okay, I'm a teacher, I'm a mom. Like I have the skills to do this to help other parents close that gap between what we are uncomfortable with and we weren't taught and what we really know our kids need to be healthy and be independent as adults.
It's so important to have that kind of support, I feel like, as a young mom, and then it's a whole another ball game when they get older and they're so busy with activities. And then even sitting down at the dinner table can be so challenging, let alone finding the time to cook. But what I like about what you're saying, and this is kind of interesting because I'll just confess, like I have not been somebody that finds cooking relaxing,
Mm,
therapeutic, and I know some people just do.
right.
But all of a sudden, I'm starting to see the benefit of like really taking the time and cooking with other people,
Mm,
which feels good. Like being alone in the kitchen by myself cooking, I think felt really lonely, but getting everybody involved. And that's what I really like as I'm reading your all of the information that you share. But also, I have a really good friend. She has 5 kids, and she always cooked.
mm.
and everybody wants to be at her house because she's cooking and everybody's around the table eating her food.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just really important. And I think in today's day and age, like you were saying, we get so busy and bogged down. And it's easy for me to go to, I love Trader Joe's, but just to buy a Trader Joe's pizza and throw it in the oven, or something that's already made. So, what would you say to the mom that's listening that is feeling badly? Her kid, I hear this a lot from moms. All my teenager eats is pasta and butter.
Ooh,
That's what they want, like pasta noodles
yeah.
or ramen noodles. And I'm finding it really hard to get them to eat healthy or even find time to make dinner.
It's definitely an uphill battle, but if a mom is saying that in her heart of hearts, she probably knows that the pasta butter diet is not as balanced as she wants it to be, right? So I think like we don't want to judge or shame or blame ourselves or others, but we can also say there's something I don't like about this. And there is a way to change it. So, let me listen to some people and get some ideas and try some things, right? Like I want all kids to be eating more than just empty carbs, to be right.
Mm.
And so how do we expand the diet? I mean, we've got to start with the grocery shopping, get some vegetables in the house. And that's step one. It doesn't need to be, kids don't really need flashy or fancy. I think a lot of people think we need these like elaborate recipes or the perfect recipe, for the picky eater. But really, if we just, I've noticed, if you put out a bowl of blueberries, if you put out a bowl of baby carrots, or if you put out a bowl of M&Ms, guess what? The exact same thing happens. People drive by and eat. They walk by, We call it drive-by eating in our house, but like it always gets gone, especially if people are called together and are chit-chatting around the peninsula, or around an island, around a table or whatever in your kitchen. So I think just having good foods available really, really is step number one. And it's insanely powerful to get kids involved in the cooking and preparation of their food. I want to project, like, take a 12-year-old or a 16-year-old who's eating the pasta butter diet, project that child to their college years or their young adult years. They're trying to date, they're maybe going to their roommate's parents' house for dinner. Like when you're in college, the best thing is free dinner, right?
Yeah.
So what happens when you're such a picky eater that you're like, oh, I don't eat that? Like that's not good socially. You're not having fun. Everyone is having fun socially going out to a dinner or whatever, or sharing a meal together in a house or an apartment, and you can't participate because you never expanded your palate. Like, phooey, forget that. Like we definitely like I want my kids to enjoy their lives and not feel like they're in this little handcuffed prison of pasta and butter and their tiny palate. So I really think it takes a growth mindset. Just believe that your kids can eat better and invite them to participate. Kids, teens and tweens should be able to be using those chef's knives and cutting up their own vegetables. Ideally, they begin to see that they feel better, that they have
Mhm.
longer energy, that they're not feeling that crash because of the blood sugar spike. And they're at an age where their brain is fairly logical, not fully formed, teens and tweens, but there's some logic sprouting in
Mhm.
there. And so we can talk to them scientifically about how food makes us feel and how it fuels our body. My daughter right now is 16, and she has learned because we've talked for years about noticing how we feel, right? And how food makes us feel. She says, Mom, if I like, we have oatmeal once a week for breakfast. She said, on oatmeal days, by 10 in the morning, by third hour, I'm just dragging. She's like, I'm dying. I'm super hungry. My stomach is growling and I'm embarrassed because I think other people can hear it because she's a 16-year-old girl, right? Everyone's watching her. And I just can't focus anymore. So she takes it upon herself to add some sausage, or if she could add a glass of milk, but she's dairy sensitive, which is unfortunate protein wise. But she's like, if I eat protein at breakfast, I feel better. My brain works better. Isn't that amazing? Like, that feels like a miracle to me that she notices that. But every teenager is capable of that if you have the right conversations and the right input available in the house.
And she noticed that herself.
Yeah.
And because you've talked about that, which is the beauty of them realizing it versus us giving them a lecture about it. That's interesting you say that about oatmeal because I've been eating more oatmeal I notice that. And I'll put berries in it, but I do
Mhm.
notice like, oh, I'm much hungrier than if I eat some protein, like some eggs or something like that.
Yeah, the fat and protein's always going to be more satiating. So if I was,
Mhm.
an oatmeal girl, I would be trying to add coconut oil or butter to that and maybe like a whole glass of whole milk. But of course, she has to do almond milk. There's nothing in almond milk. It's like flavored water with some vitamins. So she was noticing that her body was just burning through that energy too quickly.
Yeah. So your husband had some health challenges that got you focused on
Mhm.
healthier eating. Can you briefly tell our listeners like the difference that that made?
We ask a lot more questions now and seek our own paths after this experience. My husband was diagnosed with Crohn's disease in college, which is an autoimmune disease of the small intestine. He actually had surgery 2 days after graduating from college. They nearly did not let him graduate. So he's like missing a whole foot of his intestine. And at the end of that surgery, the doctor said, I'll see you back in 7 years. Because that's the average amount of time for the disease to kick up again and need another surgery, not just medication, but freaking another surgery. And we were like, "Ooh, that sounds terrible." So when his symptoms first started kicking up, I was lucky enough, fortunate enough, blessed enough. God really led me to listen to this speaker who himself had had Crohn's disease and nearly died of it. And he had been to 60 experts. He had, like, his parents had means, obviously. And he finally figured out that the way he ate made a huge difference. And he was a strong, man in his 40s at that point, but he had nearly died in his, like, at an age 19. And so I went home and said to my husband, honey, starting tomorrow, we're gonna give up gluten, dairy, sugar, legumes, and grains. Like it was like basically everything. And he was like, how was the talk? I said, we're gonna change our lives right now. So what's great, he had the hope this isn't TMI, but he had had diarrhea for 2 months. Went to the doctor, had a
Wow.
prescription anti-diarrheal, changed nothing, like 0% change. When we made that dietary change in exactly 2 days, he had completely normal bowel movements.
Oh,
Yep. And I remember I called the doctor and I was like, you'll never believe this. This is what we did. The nurse is like taking notes. Oh, I'll tell the doctor. I could tell by her tone of voice that she probably wouldn't even tell the doctor. And I'm like, you know what? We're done with this practice. They don't care about humans. They just care about following some sort of procedure that they've learned from the top down. So for us, that was very eye-opening how big of an impact food could have and how much questioning we have to do when it comes to kind of just your normal doctor. He has since 5 years ago got it taken off his chart. It's supposed to be a chronic disease. Crohn's is not even on his chart anymore. Yeah.
wow. So he cut out all gluten.
All grains, actually, because we went with everything.
Okay.
All
So
grains,
beans.
legumes, dairy. Yep. hmm it was what? It was more than he needed, but it was what we had to do to figure out what he actually needed to cut. And he hasn't had to cut anything 100% of the time at all. So he was able to heal his gut and then go back to most foods.
The gut is so important and gets talked about so much now.
Yeah.
What would you say about the gut health?
Oh, for teens and tweens?
Yes.
Whew. I mean, when I look at what most teens are eating and drinking, especially drinking their sugar, we know that the negative gut bacteria, the bad gut bacteria loves sugar. And
Hmm.
so I just feel like anything we can do to help our teens and tweens think long term, which is like almost impossible. They're like, I feel fine today. Like I drank a bunch of sugar. It's not hurting me right now. But man, oh, mister. Sometimes it does. I was just hanging out with a mom friend this weekend, and her daughter is about my daughter's age, and she said she was struggling with terrible acne, and on her own volition, just decided to give up sugar, cold turkey, like not even the 2 grams that are in spaghetti sauce, cleared up her skin. So, like, poof, here's a motivated teen. First of all, I mean, she had to make her own decision too, but now she's going to be for the rest of her life understanding that there's an interplay there between what she feeds her body and how her skin looks and probably how she feels. And ultimately, that's good for gut health. So, if it comes to it, like, take the angle, moms, of with your teens of skin health and, just like horrible periods can be helped by giving up something, stuff like sugar or inserting healthier things into our diets. There's so many there. We want to talk long term, but we've got to figure out what will motivate our kids short term, right? I feel cruddy by 10 a.m. today if I don't eat protein. My skin cleared up when I gave up sugar, right? You know what I mean? Like it's got to be, we got to
Mhm.
figure out what's going to be the quick like win for them so that they can see that cause and effect.
And so when you say sugar, like even, do you mean fruits too?
Not necessarily. No, I mean kids need carbs. Most kids' bodies can really handle those, but it's that processed added sugar.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and kids can drink so much pop now, and just how I'm sure that can affect the skin.
Oh yeah, and the Starbucks, the amount of
Yeah.
sugar in there, like it's basically melted ice cream with caffeine. Um, so I think one of our jobs as parents of teens and tweens is to, I call it the gradual release of responsibility. Like, how can we help them take ownership of their health? We have to talk about it. We can't just tell them what to do top down. Like you said, lectures are not going to work anyway. But we need to ask them, like, what do you want energy for? Is it soccer? Is it drama? Is it singing? Is it playing your saxophone? Like, let's do some research. What kind of foods are going to give you the energy to best perform in your day? And I think a lot of teens are really motivated. Like they want to be their best selves, but so many of them don't understand that the recipe for their best self doesn't just include hard work and, getting their homework done and meeting their deadlines or being in a ton of extracurriculars. It also includes the raw materials that we're fueling our bodies with.
Yeah, that's good. Let's dig into that a little bit because you talk about life skills and curiosity and asking good questions. And I think that is particularly important when you have tweens and teens. We want to talk at them versus asking those good questions. And I like what you're saying, like asking them what they want to have energy around. So, can you explain that a little bit? Because you actually have three things that you talk about when it comes to life skills. I know curiosity, right? Adaptability, is that the second?
Yeah, for critical thinking. Yep,
Yes.
curiosity,
And then the third,
adaptability, and
and I think that comes, you kind of you merge those together with the cooking and the teaching these life skills. So, and I think I want to bring it up because I know so many moms are like, oh, I don't know how I can get them to stop eating those noodles with butter for every single meal. So tell me, how can I use those three things, you know, to help them learn these life skills and to help them make some of these positive changes?
curiosity is awesome. Like if we can ask more questions of our kids and teach them to ask questions, ultimately they will find answers. I just used that to my advantage the other day. My 10-year-old needed something to do, like it was time to be off the screen, and I knew that he was going to have trouble transitioning. So I walked out of the office with him, and his dad was hanging some hooks, and so he had like this tripod with a level on it, like a laser level, so it looked really cool. And I said, Gabe, do you know what that tool is called that dad's using? That was it. That was all it took. So then he was curious and he started asking his dad questions. And luckily, I knew my husband would allow him to like help. And it became like half an hour of bonding and life skills and learning. And Gabe's got the screwdriver out. Granted, that's a 10-year-old, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing with
Hmm.
teens. Maybe we can use current events like, oh, so I saw so and so in the news is sick or was sick or whatever. Like, what do you think is going on with that person? Like, I just think we need to help them to dig deeper into all sorts of situations, whether it has to do with health or not. And that skill of asking questions will serve them so, so well.
It's really helpful when you talk about just learning those critical thinking skills because they're especially bombarded with so many things on social media, so many different messages that
Yes.
can be so confusing. So, how are some other ways that we can help them develop the critical thinking skills?
Well, you mentioned my last one, curiosity, adaptability, and resilience. Kids have got to have real situations where things can go wrong in order to learn resilience and in order to learn even just how to think ahead and plan for the next time. We know that I already joked that like our teens' brains aren't completely fully formed, right? So I'm sure you talk all the time about how the executive functioning part of our brain isn't fully formed till like 25. I heard someone recently say 30. I'm like, are we de-evolving? What is going on? Quite possibly. We might be de-evolving, but that's another interview for another day.
Yeah.
So our jobs as parents is to like help them develop those executive functioning skills, which certainly includes critical thinking and includes planning ahead and includes being okay with failure. And so what do we got to put them in some tough situations. Cooking's a tough situation. Things will go wrong. You will burn things. You will. My son once took a pizza out of the oven, tipped it too much. The whole thing went down into the bottom of the oven, like off the tray, right? Another time, my kids all kids, I think, are very bad at planning ahead. So
Oh, yeah.
my oldest, they're now 16 and 20. When they were 9 and 12, they were assigned one meal per week to make together. That's pretty young, 9 and 12. But my 9-year-old, the girl was 9 at the time. She is like very mature. So she kept her brother in line. But as they grew, they would always forget that it was their day. And so they wouldn't plan ahead. They wouldn't thaw the meat. And I would help at turns, like I'm not going to micromanage. That's not my job. My job's to let them fail. So I can picture one time my son Paul was making meatballs with partially thawed meat, like it was a little frozen in the
Oh.
middle. And he's like, I think my fingers are getting frostbitten. And I'm like, keep thinking about that. Like, how can you avoid that the next time? So eventually, like they're getting better and better at learning how to think ahead more than an hour. Now it's, half the day or the day before or 2 days before. That's an amazing skill to run into a problem, to work through the problem. The worst that happens is you burn a whole meal and then you get the pizza out from Trader Joe's, right? Like that's not terrible. It's not a terrible consequence, but it's going to help build that muscle of resilience. So when bigger things happen or when the stakes are higher, when they're real adults and they could lose $1,000 because they make a mistake instead of $20, like they have got to know that they have the capacity to get through it. And more than anything else, I think cooking and life skills gives them those opportunities to fail, to mess up, to, have all sorts of problems in the safety of our own home. They're under our roof. Like we're still there. We can help them. We can talk them through it, but have those experiences to fall back on when they're adults, when they're out of our house. So it like the most important thing you can do is give your kids problems. And the
Mhm.
easiest way to do that is to teach them competencies in cooking and other life skills.
I can't stress that enough. I agree so much. And having older kids now,
Mm.
it's so important to do when they're in your home
Mhm.
because that's really how they learn. And I can really point back to great times of growth for my kids when they were facing a problem and they were really anxious about it. And then they figured it out and how good that felt. Like I remember my son calling and he's like, I forgot my baseball cleats. Oh my gosh, you got to bring him to me. I've got a game. He was like in a total panic.
Right.
And I couldn't, thankfully I couldn't. And he ended up like finding some other shoes that cleats that fit him. And he came home. He's like, I worked it all out. I find some other shoes. I wore those, they they develop that resiliency, like you're saying. And we have to trust that process versus wanting to jump in and rescue them. Watching them struggle is so hard. But it doesn't mean that we can't ask good questions.
Right.
Like, well, what do you think you can do about that? Can
Yeah,
be
I love
judged.
asking like, what's the next step? How can you solve your problem? My kids will even catch me, like I check myself. I'll be like, like, I really want to solve your problem for you because I actually have the answer, but that's not my job.
Hmm.
Like I actually say that stuff out loud.
Well, and I think that's so good because that's helping you.
Yeah.
We need that little prompt and then to share it with them. And I think that's helpful for them to hear us process it out loud. And when we tell them what we think they should do, we're sending that message that we don't believe they're capable.
Yes, and they feel it. That's one of the theories
Mhm.
behind the increase in anxiety in young people these days. they're helped too much.
Yes. Yep. Yep. I see it too with text messaging that kids will text their mom and then we end up taking it on and we feel so stressed. So yeah, yeah, that's very helpful. So resilience.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I have to say, as much as we want to be good parents for the benefit of our kids, it's really good for moms of teens and tweens to hear that they are old enough to help you reduce your mental load and your physical load around the house too. Like I have 3 teens right now. All 3 of them make a meal once a week. So if you're doing the math, that's like half basically of the meals that I have used to have to make in the week. I don't have to do that anymore. And it's good for them, but it's also really good for me. It's good for the whole family to share that responsibility. And it's beautiful. Like my 2 olders started out making a meal together. Now, again, I have this like 10-year-old who just got the responsibility given to him of being the sous chef for the 13-year-old. So they'll be making their dinner together and I'll be in the office hearing like a cacophony. I'm like, there's someone is going to get hurt. I'm not even sure because they're boys. Like, I'm not even sure. I'll look at my husband across the office and he's like, don't go check. I'm like, okay. They're having a blast. They're having a blast. Nothing has broken yet. And the dinner always comes out, but I do not know what they're doing. They are bonding, brother bonding for sure in this cooking. And so that's beautiful to see as well. And it comes back to what you were saying, like, I don't really love cooking together, but like when you're cooking with your people, whether that's siblings together or like a parent-child duo, it's just delightful. It's wonderful.
I love that. And it's such an important part of bonding, isn't it, over food? Yeah. So how can our listeners get started if they're like, "Oh my gosh, I feel like I've missed the bus on this. How do I get my kids involved?" Can you give them some ideas?
I think part of it is to remove our own psychological roadblocks. Like it's not, you don't teach kids to cook on your to-do list. Like that's too big, you know? Take the bite of the elephant one bite at a time or whatever. Like just make sure your kids know, like their teens and tweens, like how to use the stove safely. You know, so think about maybe you're making bratwurst or burgers from the freezer. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, but like make sure that they feel confident using the stove and flipping those things. You know, if they're buttered pasta people, let's make sure they can boil water and add the salt and add the pasta. Like it's just one little step at a time because they are older, they're going to learn pretty quickly. And so they very quickly go from the student to the sous chef. You very quickly get a return on investment that you're able to get help. And I think too that letting our kids see that we're learning along with them is
Mm.
so powerful, right? Mom and dad should be lifelong learners. And so that's why I love that I'm able to provide some classes because a lot of parents are like, I don't know where to start. Like, I don't know how to explain this to my kid, but I do because I have like a teacher heart. So I get to explain things to the kids or the teens with the parents watching, and then everyone can kind of learn together and work together. We have so much fun. I mean, so I have a cooking class for kids. Sometimes that works for teens. Sometimes they're like, "Ooh, the kids in the videos are 10. I'm not jamming with that." You know, we're working on Teens Cook Real Food. God willing, that'll be out in the next year. But we have this amazing Life Skills Now program where over the last 4 years, we've taught over 350 skills to kids and teens. And that's actually a little heavily weighted toward teens because it's so much fun to teach teens things like budgeting and checking the oil in your car. And like, there's just so much they can do, but parents don't have a roadmap. And so I've created this roadmap with all these other experts. That's not just me. That's like all these experts coming together. And so your teens have these voices, which are not yours, telling them the things you want them to hear anyway. And every parent knows it counts more if it's not mom or
Yes.
dad, you know, telling you eat your vegetables or don't eat sugar, or you do need an oil change, your engine's going to break down, you know.
I love that you're doing that. And I want you to tell them more about that because I know that I'm going to put a link in. Because I mean, for me, math is not my thing. So teaching my kids how to budget, manage money, and all of that is not my strong suit. So when it comes to being able to have somebody else that can come in there and help our kids learn those skills. I just love that you're doing this. It's so they can go, tell them where to find you and where to go. And you also, just so you know, everybody, she's got all kinds of stuff on YouTube and even how to teach your kids about sharp knives and cutting with sharp knives.
Yes.
All those important things. And also to how to find the cooking that you're doing. So yeah. Can you tell them about that?
For sure. Well, let's have people go to kidscookrealfood.com/tweens and teens. And so that'll be when we're open for our free yearly Life Skills Now camp. You can register there for 100 skills. But if we're in our off season, that'll be a special page for your listeners to at least get 3 or 4 life skills videos for all sorts of ages. What we do with Life Skills Now Camp is 100 skills, 70 camp leaders in these short video workshops. So my goal is, like, I'm a balanced mom. I have not figured out the screen-free life in this day and age. Like, that's just not a thing. But I would love to offer parents an opportunity for productive screen time instead of passive scrolling. So it's a private ad-free dashboard. There's no next playing like hole to fall into. And the tweens and teens can watch like a 5 to 30 minute video from an expert on one very specific skill. And then the expert will send them off into the real world with a mission to complete, to implement that skill right away. It's a buffet, really. It's all breadth and no depth. So the kids, they get to be like, ooh, I want a little taste of this and a little taste of that. And that's so cool because then if they find something they're maybe passionate about that they didn't know, they can go deeper later, with that expert or with other experts or on YouTube or whatever. But we've had kids learn that they're like really good podcast interviewers. We've had kids learn that they're actually really good at marketing, that when they have a lemonade stand, they make more than their friends who have lemonade stands because they learned a couple entrepreneurship skills from our camp. It's so much fun. And we just hear about the conversations at the dinner table during camp week or when kids are working through these videos are just intense and powerful. And, we have, you talked about finances. Right now in this camp, one of our free early access workshops that you can get immediately when you sign up is a rule from Bob Lottick. He's a podcaster and talks about finances. And so this is a rule to just never spend 100% of what you earn. Super simple, but the way he teaches it is really special and unique. And I'm already hearing that it's inciting like insane conversations between teens and their parents about money. We need to do this for our kids. When else are you just talking about money? It doesn't come up usually.
That is great. I'm going to get my my grandkids signed up.
Yay!
I'm going to get up here and go sign them up. Yeah. And tell my youngest about it. That's awesome. Yeah, we need this. And so when is it? It's in June?
Yes, the free camp week is June 9th to 13th in 2025. But if you're listening to this podcast afterward, you can still go to kidscookrealfood.com/tweens and teens, and there will be a smaller selection of free videos. And my cooking class is always available. You're right. So once you're in my world, I'm easy to find.
I love that. Any last words for our listeners?
I think I really want parents of teens to be more intentional about this. If you're a marathon runner, when you get to the end, that's not when you let off the gas. It's not when you go, well, I'm pretty much done. They're probably going to turn out okay. That's when they sprint in a marathon. And so I feel like we need to look at our kids and be like, what can I give them, as a gift to take with them into adulthood? If we haven't done cooking yet, if they don't know how to clean the bathroom or do their laundry or put sheets on their bed or budget or think about money, man, oh, mister, these are gifts that you have as an adult, or you can pull in other experts on your parenting team through resources like Life Skills Now and give your kids this gift. So I think that's what I want you to imagine is we're giving our kids gifts when we give them skills.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes moms out there, it feels overwhelming, but I like your metaphor of the, and I actually use it too, about the elephant and the small bites. It doesn't have to be huge. Every little bit counts. Well, thank you so much. I can't wait for people to check out everything that you're doing. And thank you for how you're serving us in this space because we need help.
It's an honor to be that resource. Thanks, Cheryl.
Yeah, thanks, Katie.
Well, that's it for today, friend. And thank you so much for joining me. And if you're finding what is shared here helpful, I would love if you would leave a review. That way more moms get to hear about it. And I love reading them. It just means so much to me. Or if you have a friend that could benefit from this, pass it along to her. We all need to know somebody's thinking about us and to feel encouraged and to know that we are not alone. So thank you so much for being a part of the Moms of Tweens and Teens podcast, and I will see you back here next time.